Test 1, 2. Okay. Shabbat Shalom. Dry cleaners. Dry cleaners. That's maturity. See, 10 years ago, I would have not taken it off. So, thank God. Hello, Shabbat Shalom Tempest. I'm so glad you're here to do your art, Tempest and her Shabbat art. This is wonderful. Welcome, everybody. Let us begin with Hine Matov. You'll find the words just on the first page. Hine Matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Once again. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Okay, so that sounded like half of you is here, which is great because I'm a cup half full kind of guy. I like to be grateful for what is. So I am offering gratitude for the half of you that is here. And now I'm going to offer a prayer that the rest of you gets here. So we're going to have one more chance on Hine Matov. You'll have lots of chances throughout the rest of the service, but one more chance. So let's try that once again, and let's get some energy flowing. Hine Matov. Everybody. Hine Matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Tonight, throughout the service, I'm going to be reading some favorite texts of mine from a book called Zen Judaism, Teaching Tales by a Kabbalistic Rabbi. So, if I hold this book, it means you don't have the words, so you don't have to go looking for it. When I was a young boy in Hungary, my father taught me an important lesson. He owned a big department store, And one day, while we were at the synagogue, his store was broken into, looted, and set on fire. And to make it worse, he found out it was our neighbors who did it. But it was Shabbat, and on the Shabbat, you don't talk about business. So we continued with our prayers. That night, we finally talked about it. He wasn't the least bit angry. We have to build the store again. This is our home. What else can we do? If I lose my store and allow my blood pressure to rise, that is paying double. I don't believe in paying twice. Let's continue on page 2 with Lachuna Ranana. And I just want to point out that the first 3 words in English of what we're singing here, Lachuna Ranana, let us sing. Let us sing. Lechune ranena, yai la lai la lai, la Adonai, yai la lai la lai, Naria, lai la lai la lai, Letzu Yishenu. Lai, la, lai, la, lai. Let us sing out to God, the maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of creation from mountain to sea hear our song. Lechu neranena, yai la, lai, la, lai. La Adonai, yai la lai la lai, Naria, yai la lai la lai, let's do Yishenu, yai la lai la lai. For all of the wonders in all of God's light, we rejoice. So now let us listen with all of our hearts to hear God's voice. Lechu neranena, yai la lai la lai, la Adonai, lai la lai la lai, Naria. Yai la lai la lai, letzu yishenu. Yai la lai la lai, yai la lai la lai, yai la lai la lai. Once there was a rabbi who came out of the synagogue on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, when Jews fast. And to his surprise, on this solemn day, he saw one of his students eating. He went up to him and said, "Joseph, don't you know what day it is? You're not supposed to eat." And Joseph answered politely, "I know, but I'm hungry." The rabbi looked at the sandwich and was shocked. "It's ham! You're eating ham, a forbidden food, on a day when you're supposed to eat it all. We're not supposed to eat it all." And Joseph said, "I know, I was hungry." The rabbi looked up to heaven, raised his hands to God, and said imploringly, "Please, God, give Joseph credit for not lying." It's important to laugh. It is important to laugh when life feels like it's falling apart. It's important to laugh when we feel like we've gone through something very difficult. And while it doesn't entirely go away, it is so important to be able to mark those moments. And tonight, we are marking the yahrzeit of Michael Loeb. I want to invite Ava and Julie and Maya, come on up for the lighting of the Shabbat candles. We are grateful to Ava for being our Oneg sponsor tonight. Thank you. The words for the Shabbat candle blessing is on page 3. Amen. We continue on page 4 for the Chadodi. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. La 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 lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmianu el meyuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'liti la 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 la, Echad dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat, lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor haberacha, merosh mikedem netzucha, sov ma'aseh b'machshava tchila la 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 lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Verse 3, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Top of page 5. Hitoreri, Kiva orechu miuri, uri, shir daberi. Kavod Adonai alaich nigla lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Please rise. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat. We turn towards the door and we welcome in the angels that made our week possible. Bo'i v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'tzola, toch emunei am segula. Bo'i chala, la 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 lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. La 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 lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. The first part of Baruch Hu, this version of Baruch Hu that we do, for those of you who are not regulars with us, although you are all welcome to become regulars if you'd like. But there's no initiation, there's no special handshake. It's just you're welcome. The first part begins with Lai. So for that reason, I want you to put down your prayer book. Because everybody can remember, but not on the floor, Desmond. Put it on the chair. Yeah. So I invite you to close your eyes. And in this moment, begin centering yourself. We've had a few minutes to warm up, a few minutes to make the transition from the chol to the kodesh, from the profane, from the everyday to the holy. In the chol, we have this opportunity to create, to grow, to change, to strive. But in the kodesh, we step away from the need for everything to be different, and instead focus our energy on that which is. So we breathe into this moment, we enter ourselves, we accompany ourselves into Shabbat with Lai. Ya la lai lai lai, ya la lai lai lai, la la lai lai lai, la la lai lai lai, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Another set of lilas. Ya la 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 la, 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 la 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 la, la la la. So we're on page 6 now. So just take a moment to grab your prayer book if you don't know the words. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la la la. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la la. We find ourselves in the beginning of the month of Nisan. We're actually 1 week into the month of Nisan. How do I know that? Because in one more week is Passover, which begins right in the middle of Nisan. Nisan is, if you were to buy a Jewish calendar, you know how every calendar we buy in America and in the English world and in the Western world, it begins with January. It would be strange, right, if you found a calendar that began in September. It would make sense to people who go to school, but nonetheless, the calendars start in January. In the Hebrew calendar, I would assume, you would assume, that if you were buying a Hebrew calendar, it would start in the month of, anybody know? Well, what would you assume it to be? In September, right? September-ish. Rosh Hashanah, Tishrei, right? But it doesn't. The Jewish calendar actually starts in the month of Nisan, this month, because Passover falls in this month. Because according to the rabbis, Passover is, Zuckerberg, is the meta holiday of the Jewish people. I'm not sure that he knows that meta was used before him, but anyway. The essential center, if you will, of Judaism is the Exodus from Egypt. It is the primary story. It is the primary focus of what everything else in Judaism is about. Not just for we Jews, but for all people. This is where the mandate comes from, to be stewards in God's creation. It starts this month. And it's all for the rabbis, for the mystical rabbis anyway. It's all about love. So it's the flow of love and making sure that we do what we can to make sure it's not interrupted. So we sing together on page 8, Ahavat Olam, eternal love. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Al Kain Adonai Eloheinu B'shokveinu uvkumeinu Natziach Bechukecha V'nismach v'dibrei Toratecha Uv'mitzvotecha Le'olam Va'ed. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla. In Europe, many years ago, a woodsman came into the forest with his axe and politely asked the trees to grant him one that he could cut down. This was such a modest request that the oldest trees, an oak and a cedar, immediately acquiesced and gave him an ash tree of no particular importance. However, no sooner had the woodsman cut down the ash tree, he began cutting down all the trees in the forest, even the noblest, oldest ones. The oak tree whispered to the cedar, "Our first concession has cost us everything. If we had not sacrificed our humblest neighbor, we ourselves might have stood for ages." We are all one. Shma, page 9. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam Vayed. Page 10. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha ve'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'aderech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam leod al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher Hotzeiti Etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot Lachem Le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. At this time in our service, we invite those of you who would like to get up and dance. I'm just kidding. We invite you to share your simchas, your good newses. Yes, I know. But are there anybody want to share a good news thing with us? Anybody? Oh, Sandy? Yes. Wow. Uh-huh. Terrific. And Sandy, while you're talking, I think you should stand up. You have to. Yes, of course you do. Sandy, you celebrated a birthday this week. Yeah, a few days ago. Yeah. Well, are there anybody else having a birthday in immediate? JP? Next week? Yeah. Stand up. Stand up. When's your birthday, Maya? April 29th? All right, awesome. Are you suggesting that you're not going to be back here before then to celebrate? I'm just kidding. And your birthday is April 1st. And that's no joke. Right, exactly. I was just about to. I mean, oh, it's April. Okay. That's awesome. Wonderful. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Debbie, is it? All right. Okay. Ah, congratulations. That's something you should stand for, right? Exactly. So we've got Maya, April, JP, the 14th. Maya, April, JP, Debbie, and Sandy, right? Everyone got that? Maya, April, JP, Debbie, Sandy. All right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Maya, April, JP, Debbie, and Sandy. Happy birthday to you. Yom Holedet Sameach. Yom Holedet Sameach. Yom Holedet Sameach. Yom Holedet Sameach. Happy birthday to you. Anybody else? Good news is they want. Yes, Gene. There. That's really neat. Wow, wonderful. Very good. Yes, Sheila. Terrific. So here's a Yiddish word that everybody should know. The word is machaya. Everyone say machaya. Machaya comes from the Hebrew word chai, life. A machaya is a life maker, right? It's something you shepnaches over. Everyone understand that too? Anyway, a machaya, everybody's job is to use the word machaya in a sentence this week. All right? Anybody else? Yes, Debbie. Wonderful. All right, let us continue with Mi Chamocha. Oh, wait. Yeah. Yeah, Ava.
My granddaughter, who is their daughter, being honored tomorrow at the University of Texas nursing program as an honored student.
Fantastic.
She's a senior, and she's being honored there tomorrow.
That is something worthy of simchaing. Wonderful. Congratulations. All right, we continue. Page 13. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot. Oh, say, Fele, who is like you? Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Moses and the children crossed the sea, sang to you with songs of joy. Who is like you, Adonai? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. I invite you to please rise as we turn to page 15. And in preparation for Amidah, I'm going to sing this beautiful version of Adonai Sifatai. I apologize, we do not have the song sheets for you today, but if you know it, please join. You are blessed and you are holy. You are blessed and you are praised. You are blessed and you are faithful to the ones who praise your name. You are kind and you are healing. You are cleansing of my soul. You are loved and pure and gracious. You are real and make me whole. Adonai Sfatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Open my lips for your praises, they'll show through your graces. Open up my lips, open up my lips. You are wise and you are sparing. You are merciful and clear. You are utter perfection, no more wrong direction. I'm loved and I am here. Together, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Open my lips for your praises, they'll show through your graces. Open up my lips, everyone. Open up my lips. Open up my lips. Adonai Sfatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Open my lips for your praises, they'll show through your graces. Open up my lips. Open up my lips. Open up my lips. Open up my lips. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'nehem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'Ezrat Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים. ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום ילוך סלה. Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. At this time in our service, we turn our thoughts and our prayers, we turn our hearts and our minds to those in our lives, individuals or groups, who are in need of healing and wholeness. If you would like to mention the names of people aloud whom you are thinking of, I invite you to rise where you are seated. And I'll invite you to mention their names, and then once you've done so, I invite you to sit down once again. We turn to page 23 for Misha Berach. Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Berach Imo Mekor HaBracha Lavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shleima, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. So first of all, I want to say thank you to Julie Sachs for joining us and providing us with such beautiful music. This is I know, a heavy night for you and your family, and I'm touched that you're spending it with us. And I pray that Michael's memory always remain a blessing for you and your family. A week from tonight, we will not be here. We will be at Southside Place, well, CSK will be at Southside Place Clubhouse, where we will be celebrating Passover. It starts at 6:30 in the evening, and we still have some seats available. So if you are interested in joining us, all the information is on the website. It is a fun and musical and enjoyable and engaging Seder with delicious food. And even though, if you're familiar with the Passover Seder, where they sing about, singing about where we finish the Seder ere midnight, we don't do it ere midnight. We'll be done, by about 9 o'clock at the latest. So, but if you would like to join us, we would be happy to welcome you. Our 3M music meditation in Misha Berach continues every Monday and Thursday at noon. It's 10 to 12 minutes in the middle of the day. And if you are interested in participating in that, all you got to do is sign up, and it's all on the website. And finally, May 1st will be CSK's, believe it or not, let me see if I get this right. 9th annual meeting. We will be meeting at 4 o'clock to 5:30 at the JCC in the main building on the bottom floor. And we're particularly excited because we are welcoming all past leadership team members, since anyone who served as a leadership team member since 2013. We will be recognizing them and launching the new year. So, CSK's fiscal year starts July 1st, so we'll be prepared for it. But please join us, May 1st, 4 o'clock. So, I don't know how many of you follow Israeli news, but it's been quite a week in Israel. Now, what happened in Israel this past week is, if you follow Israeli news, is probably not a gigantic surprise. Israel is a coalition government. So it is a parliament. They have 120 seats. And the way that you rule is either you have something that rare indeed, you have a party that wins enough of the Israeli vote that you have, your own party has 61 or more seats of the parliament, so that basically you can just rule by fiat because it's just your party, but never happens. Or you have a coalition government, and that's generally what happens, just like in England and other countries like that. This past year, a year ago, a coalition government was knitted together in a way, I heard it explained on the radio recently, that if you were to try to have the same coalition government, same kind of coalition government in the United States, it would mean that Ted Cruz and AOC would be ruling together. For those of you who don't know anything about politics, that's basically black and white. So, oil and water. So everyone sort of wondered, will this Israeli, coalition hold together? And it's been surprising how well it's held together for 9-ish, 10-ish months. But it didn't fall apart. But there was a bit of an explosion this week because member of Knesset Idit Silman, who was the coalition whip, she announced that she would be switching parties to join Likud, which and Likud's not part of the ruling coalition, which meant that the coalition, which had 61 votes, it's now 60 60. So there's a lot more negotiating and a lot more convening that's going to have to happen in order for there to be decisions made, etc. Now, I am not an expert in Israeli politics. It's really, really complicated. But I share that with you, number one, because I encourage you to check it out online. There's lots and lots and lots of articles about it. It's good to know, good to understand the basics of Israeli politics. But the reason given for why the member of Knesset, Idit Silman, announced that she was leaving was because she was really upset with an announcement that the health minister, Nitzan Horowitz, who's from the Meretz party, made, in which he said, he made a national announcement that sounds like he was establishing, a new rule, but he was really just affirming a Supreme Court of Israel decision, which is that public places, in particular hospitals, during Passover, can't not allow people with chametz to enter into their facilities. Now, did everyone understand that sentence? Kind of, maybe? Okay. So what you have to begin with is, what is chametz? Chametz is a term that basically covers all the stuff we're not supposed to eat or even own during Passover. It's primarily, the basic definition of chametz, people say, well, it's all stuff that rises, right? Well, except for you can't have pasta, right? Well, maybe you could say it kind of rises or it expands, right? So the basic definition, the easy definition of what is chametz is anything that's been made from rye, wheat, barley, oats, or spelt, so those 5 grains, that have been allowed to sit in the presence of water or moisture of any kind longer than 18 minutes before they were baked. Right? So anything that was allowed to sit with yeast, with water, with moisture, basically, obviously, when you make bread, you make dough and then you let it rise, right? So you cannot allow any of that to happen for longer than 18 minutes, which if you've made bread before, that's not enough to let anything rise, right? Before it's been put in the oven, because in the oven, it, halts the rising. Now, I still don't quite understand how the difference between rising and rising, because, it actually rises when you make a bread or a cake or a pie, it rises. But anyway, that's another story. So she was very upset. And the truth was, it was just a political move. Because, as I mentioned, the Supreme Court of Israel is a Jewish state. But Israel is not a theocratic state. Israel is not set up as a country that by which it can say that it is illegal to not observe Shabbat. It's not possible. Israel doesn't say it is illegal. If you live here, it is illegal to eat a baguette. Right? You can't be arrested for eating a baguette. Right? However, there is a general understanding that these things are not sold, they're not purchasable, and except for in certain areas, but particularly in public spaces, it's not allowed to be forbidden. Meaning the hospitals aren't going to sell it. The hospitals are going to have kosher kitchens and kosher for Passover kitchens. But if somebody who's visiting someone in the hospital has a sandwich with them, they can't be forbidden from having it to eat it. But this, what we know to be true is that politics is politics is politics. And this was really a political stunt on her part, to give her a way in to then announce that she was leaving. There's a lot of rumor that she was leaving because she had been promised the position of health minister if she left in a newly formed Likud government, which isn't happening, maybe down the road. But what I came here tonight to talk to you about is not Israeli politics, but rather chametz. One of my favorite teachings about chametz for Passover is that, chametz is the stuff that we get rid of. There's a tradition where you take children right before Passover and you have a wooden spoon and you have a feather and you have a candle. And you go and you've hidden a few crumbs of chametz to teach them the lesson. And you go and you find it and then you sweep it in with the feather into the candle and then you burn it. This is called bi'ur chametz, the burning of the chametz. And there's a tradition that teaches that chametz is referred to in the Torah in terms of offering sacrifices. And one of the verses in Leviticus teaches that you cannot use chametz as a meal offering to be forgiven for a sin. You're supposed to use matzah when you're offering a meal offering to be forgiven for a sin. Why? Torah doesn't say, but it seems rather obvious to me. How do you make chametz? Well, you take dough, you let it rise, and then you stick it in a box of hot air. Well, I would suggest it's probably hot air that often causes us to sin. When we are filled with hot air, when we're a little bit overinflated, when we believe we are above things, maybe we feel like we can even float over things, rules don't apply to us, this is oftentimes when we get into trouble. And so I love this idea of getting rid of chametz as a way of getting rid of our sin. But I think there's another side to it. And that is, why are we commanded not to eat chametz during Passover? Well, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the story, right? The Israelites were rushing out of Egypt. They didn't have time to let the dough rise. And instead, they put it on their backs, and it baked into these, flat crackers. And there's a word in Exodus, it describes the Israelites, how they are moving. They are moving bechipazon. Bechipazon, which means in a rush. They are rushing towards freedom. And it's this word that the rabbis focus in on, and they say this is really the essential understanding of how we move towards freedom. We have to be willing to recognize that it is so important that we move quickly towards it, that we act quickly towards it, that we don't dally, that we don't delay when we see ourselves stuck and when we feel like we need to let go of chains that keep us in bondage. Mitzrayim, the Hebrew word for Egypt, comes from the root word, in the middle of the word Mitzrayim is the word tsar, which means narrow. Now, more than likely, Mitzrayim got the name of Mitzrayim because the vast majority of Egyptian population lives along a narrow strip along the Nile. Probably that's where they got their name. But, never shy to come up with another interpretation. The rabbis looked at it and said, but it's also about the tsarness, the narrowness from which all of us have to strive to be free. So I encourage us all, as we look towards Passover, to do two things. First of all, if you are someone who's given to engaging in a bit of self-enslavement, because the more you suffer, the better it is. I know there are some of you in here. That's not freedom. That's martyrdom. Instead, Passover is meant to be the liberation holiday. Not only that we are able to observe the holiday and be free to choose what we eat and what we don't eat, but also applying it to our own lives. What are the narrownesses of my heart, of my mind, in which I am stuck, that I need to be free from? And then how do I rush towards that effort? You can't do it all. You can't do all of it at once. But choose one. What's that chain that keeps you stuck? And then be like Moses and stand before the sea and raise up your staff and demand that it part and walk through it and see what happens. You might just start singing when you get to the other side. Shabbat Shalom. Please rise and turn to page 24 for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Please be seated. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו echad. At this time, we call to mind those who are lost to us, who have passed away at this time or in years past. If you would like to mention the names of people you are remembering tonight, please stand where you are seated, and I will invite you to mention their names. And once you've done so, I invite you to remain standing. It's all right. Zichronam livracha. May the righteous memories be a blessing. We rise with you as we turn to page 26 for Kaddish. Yidkadal v'yidkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon of yomechon of chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'agalah v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'l'mei maya, Yibarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmed kudsha brichu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushpechata v'nechemata, da'amiram be'elma v'imru amen. Yehi shlom Rabbah min shemai, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one who makes peace in the high places make peace upon us, upon all Israel and all the world. And let us say, amen. You've probably heard that Adon Olam can be sung to any song. So let's see if you recognize this one. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'ed Nasa B'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam Asher Malach Ve'achari Kichlot HaKol Leva'ado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Ove Ve'hu Yeh B'tifara Adon Olam Asher Malach. Where was I? והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשי לו להחבירה, בלי ראשית בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא עלי וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי בעת צרה, אדון עולם אשר מלך. והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום מקרא, בידו אף אבקי רוחי, בעת תישן ועירה, ואם רוחי כביאתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא, אדון עולם Asher Malach. Now please take your prayer books, put them down on your seat, and then join us out here into the foyer where we will then offer Kiddush and Motzi.